वेरी गुड मॉर्निंग टू ऑल ऑफ यू। कैसे हैं सब लोग?
गुड मॉर्निंग।
वेरी गुड मॉर्निंग। So, what we have discussed in the last class? Time of supply for the goods we have completed. Time of supply for the services, and in which we have discussed the two circular as well, Ham model, and there was one more circular. Which circular we have discussed? One is Ham and second is
Spectrum usage.
right. Correct. Spectrum uses. Now today, so please confirm that we have also completed the reverse charge for services. Am I right? So we need to start the time of supply for the vouchers. Anybody can tell me what is the major changes in the time of supply for the vouchers? Why there is a requirement of clarification? Let me open. See, if I talk about, there is a section 12 subsection 4 and there is a provision 13 subsection 4. Which talks about the time of supply. Time of supply in case of the voucher shall be the date of issuance of the voucher if the supply is identifiable, and if the supply is not identifiable, then date of the redemption of the voucher. That was the provision exists. Please note, this is very important. The Finance Act 25 has omitted the provision, but yet not it come effective. Once the said amendment will be effective, then we are not required to read the 12 subsection 4 or 13 subsection 4. What is the clarification? Let's read the clarification. And we will read line by line of this clarification. Definition of the voucher may be in the nature of the payment instrument, which create an obligation on the supplier to accept it as a consideration or the part consideration for the supply of the goods or services. The issuance of the payment instruction, including prepaid instrument, in India is regulated by RBI in terms of the Payment Settlement Act 2007. RBI Master Direction and the relevant notification circular communication issued by the RBI from time to time. Now, prepaid instrument as defined by RBI. Payment instrument that facilitate the purchase of the goods and or services against the value stored on such instrument. The value stored on such instrument represent the value paid by the holder by cash, by debit to the bank, or by credit card. This is payment instrument. The prepaid instrument can be issued as card, wallet, and in any form, which can be access the PPI and use the amount therein. Prepaid instrument. Further, as per the this CGST Act, money का मतलब क्या है? Include the instrument recognized by the RBI, which is used as a consideration to settle an obligation. on a combined reading of the definition of the voucher as per section 2 clause 118 along with the definition of the money as per section 2 clause 75 and the description of the PPI given by the RBI, which is following, where the voucher is covered as a prepaid instrument recognized by RBI and is used as a consideration to settle an obligation. In such case, the voucher will fall under the definition of money. Where the voucher is covered as prepaid instrument recognized by the RBI and is used as a consideration to settle an obligation. In that case, क्या होगा voucher का? Voucher will fall in the definition of the money. And therefore, the money is excluded from the definition of the goods and services. The transaction in the voucher would be considered neither supply of the goods nor supply of service. ठीक है. Case B. When the voucher is not covered as PPI recognized by the Reserve Bank of India. In such case, voucher can't be treated as money and the voucher will be in the nature of an obligation on the supplier to receive it as consideration or the part consideration and assure the beneficiary to claim certain goods as specified on the voucher or the related document. Now, if it is not money, then voucher become the obligation. See, the transaction is same, but if the voucher can't be treated as money, then what will be the voucher ka treatment? Voucher will become an obligation on the supplier. Voucher will become an obligation on the supplier to assure the beneficiary to claim the certain goods or services as specified in the voucher or the related document. In that case, the voucher can be considered as actionable claim. Quickly tell me in the chat. Please quickly tell me in the chat whether actionable claim is taxable in the GST or not taxable in the GST, but please use the chat. Answer is as per schedule 3, it is not taxable other than other than specified actionable claim. मतलब क्या हुआ? Select everyone name. When you are doing the chat, now, so kindly select everyone name so that your answer or your question would be visible to others. ठीक है. And as voucher are not covered in the definition of the specified actionable claim, it appears they are covered in the entry 6 and therefore it is out of GST. Whether transaction in the voucher fall under the category of the supply of the goods or services. The issue number 1, what is the clarification? It has been clarified that irrespective of whether the voucher is covered as PPI recognized by RBI or not covered as PPI, मतलब क्या है? जो वाउचर है वो प्रीपेड इंस्ट्रूमेंट है या नहीं है? The voucher is just an instrument which create an obligation on the supplier to accept it as consideration or the part consideration, and the transaction cannot be considered as supply. In both the cases, right? In the first case, when it will be treated as PPI, prepaid instrument, then what will be the answer? What would be the answer? Because it money and services are excluded from the definition, correct? And second, if it is not PPI, If it is not PPI, then it will be considered as actionable claim, because it is not a specified actionable claim. Therefore we can say that it is covered in the schedule 3 para 6 and neither supply of the goods nor supply of services. However, supply of the goods or services for which voucher are used as a consideration may be taxable under GST. It means whenever I will give the supply to you for that, against that voucher, let's say the voucher you have taken from me, that is purchase of, let's say, ready-made garment. So when I will actually supply the ready-made garment to you, then it is taxable. That particular goods or services, according to the rate or exemption, it will create the liability. Issue number 2. What would be the GST treatment of the transaction in the voucher by distributor, sub-distributor or agent, etc.? There are primary two models for distribution of the voucher through distributor, sub-distributor or agent. पहला कौन सा मॉडल है? Where, okay, is there any question? Okay, all okay, perfect. Where vouchers are distributed through distributor, sub-distributor, dealer on P2P basis. In such case, the distributor, dealer purchase the vouchers from the voucher issuer, typically at a discounted price, and subsequently sell the same to the sub-distributor, corporate or end consumer through the margin, which is a difference between the acquisition cost and selling price of the voucher by the said distributor or dealer. In such case, distributor or dealer own the voucher and operate with full control over the process from purchase to the final sale. As per levy of the GST chargeable on the supply, as the transaction in the voucher is neither supply the goods nor supply the service, therefore pure trading would not constitute either supply of the goods or supply of services. अगर मैं उसकी ट्रेडिंग करता हूं, अगर underlying goods or services is covered in the schedule 3 or it is not goods nor services, then the trading itself would not create levy. So voucher distribution on P2P basis, it will no GST. Accordingly, the trading would not be leviable to GST as per 9 subsection 1. Okay. Now we are talking about when the voucher are distributed using distributor, sub-distributor or agent on commission basis or fee basis. In such case, the transaction between the voucher and the distributor or sub-distributor on a principal basis or are on a principal to agent basis. These agreement, the arrangement between the distributor, sub-distributor, agent on commission basis are on principal to agency basis. So therefore, these arrangement as per the contract or agreement between distributor, sub-distributor, agent and the voucher issuer may specify the set of the obligation on the agent, such as marketing and promotion and other related support activity for distribution of the voucher against the commission or any other amount by whatever name called. In such case, the distributor do not operate autonomously, do not own the voucher and only act as agent of the voucher issuer. In such case, GST would be payable by such distributor, sub-distributor or agent acting as an agent of the voucher on the commission or any other amount by whatever name called for the purpose as a supply the service to the voucher issuer. Can you give me any similar example where underlying item either are not covered as a goods or services or are covered in the neither supply the goods or services, but the commission is taxable? Can you give me similar example by first tell me any one example, कोई भी एक ऐसा एग्जाम्पल जिसमें सिमिलर टाइप का मतलब ट्रीटमेंट होता है जहां पे अंडरलाइन गुड्स और सर्विसेज नाइदर मनी मतलब नाइदर गुड्स नॉर सर्विसेज या नाइदर सप्लाई द गुड्स नॉर सप्लाई सर्विसेज। एक एग्जांपल मुझे कोई भी बता सकते हैं चैट और अनम्यूट करके, जैसा आपको कंफर्टेबल हो। मिस चित्रा, ओके, हाँ, गीत, वेरी नाइस यार, you have covered very nice example. So when you go to the definition of services, it says that neither money मतलब excluding money and security, but क्या कहता है, अगर आपने इंटरेस्ट दिया, see whether it is exempted or whether it is taxable, that is altogether different, but अगर interest commission converting the money from one form denomination to the another form denomination is supply the services, and similar things is being written कि अगर आप ट्रेडिंग करते हैं सिक्योरिटीज में then also the commission would be taxable. एक बार डेफिनेशन ओपन करते हैं, लेट मी ओपन द डेफिनेशन। अगेन दिस वुड बी योर प्रैक्टिकल पार्ट कि अगर आपको whenever you like to search anything in respect to the GST, practically I'm talking about, not theoretically, practically I'm talking about which website you will refer, the cbic.gov.in. This would be the authentic source. Now let's say I'm going to the act. Click on the GST, then again on the act. ठीक है, definition section 2 and 102. Services means anything other than goods, money and security, other than goods, money and security, but include activities relating to the use of the money or conversion. use of the money का example क्या हो गया, interest. Conversion by cash or by another mode from one form currency denomination to the another form currency denomination for which a separate consideration is charged, जिसके लिए एक separate consideration charge होता है, ठीक है, and उसके बाद उसका explanation. So what happened? So the similar example, अगर मैं बैंक हूं let's say and I am charging the interest, money per se, because I have given the loan to you, money per se is neither goods nor services, but because I'm charging use of the money, I'm a Thomas Cook, you are converting from dollar to the INR, I'm charging the commission or I'm charging the fees, it would be taxable. Now situation number 3, what would be the GST treatment of additional services such as advertisement, co-branding, marketing and promotions, customization services, technology support services and customer support services? In such case, the said service fees, service charge, affiliate charge or any other amount for supply of the such additional services to the voucher issuer as per the terms of the contract would be liable to GST as per the applicable rate and in the hand of the service provider. Any other services provided by the agent for which he is taking certain amount from the voucher issuer, in that case that would be taxable. If anything is not covered, then it will be covered in the residuary clause. What would be the GST treatment of unredeemed vouchers? See, ये बड़ा क्वेश्चन आता था, मतलब see, try to understand before this clarification and before the amendment of Finance Act 25 but yet to be effective, what happened if voucher is identifiable, then the tax would be payable at the time of issuance of the voucher. So I have collected the tax from you or backward calculation and I have paid the tax to the government. But assume that the transaction supply has never happened because that voucher is being expired. मतलब बिना supply हुए that I have paid the tax to the government. That was the big problem or big question before this clarification. Now, in cases of the voucher remain unused or unredeemed at the end of their expiry period, the businesses generally book the adjustment and account the said amount on account of the unredeemed voucher in their statement of income. The value of such unredeemed voucher accounted in the statement is called breakage. The issue which arose for consideration was whether the amount distributed to the unredeemed voucher can be considered as monetary value of any act or forbearance in response or for the inducement of the supply of the goods or services, whether by the recipient or by any other person. Can you tell me where it is? ये language कहाँ लिखी हुई है? Where this language is written? कोई भी बता सकते हैं इस लैंग्वेज के कारण ये क्या ट्राई करना चाहते हैं? मतलब what is the use of this language and where you can find similar language? Any idea? Let's read.
Transaction value?
Sorry?
Transaction value? Definition
नहीं,
of
ट्रांजेक्शन वैल्यू में नहीं है. नहीं नहीं नहीं. नहीं यार, डेफिनेशन ऑफ कंसिडरेशन में भी नहीं है. नहीं. Anyway, for the inducement of the supply of the goods or services, whether by recipient or any other person, as per levy, the transaction, the levy would arise on the supply. In case of the breakage, there is no redemption of the voucher and there is no supply of the underlying goods or services. Therefore, there is no supply of the goods or services on account of the such unredeemed voucher breakage. As there is no underlying supply, in case of the non-redemption, the amount retained for unredeemed voucher by the voucher issuer and it cannot be treated as consideration for any supply. Accordingly, such amount attributable to unredeemed voucher would not be taxable as per the provision. And where it is written, if you refer this circular 178, the circular is, I think you have already read this circular. That circular was basically the schedule 2 para 5, which talks about clause E, which talks about agreement to do the refrain from an act to do an act is a supply of services or not. तो ये जो सर्कुलर है, इस सर्कुलर में मल्टीपल टाइप ऑफ द सच अरेंजमेंट हैज बीन कवर्ड, and therefore whatever I talking about, somehow it is linked to this circular only, this language only, schedule 2 para 5 clause E. क्या कहता था सर्कुलर? Circular 178 clarify that agreement to do or refrain from an act or to do an act should not be presumed to exist, and there must be an express or implied agreement, oral or written, to do or abstain from doing something against payment of consideration for a taxable supply to exist. Recall कर पा रहे कि are you able to recall that circular or that clarification? Not necessary number, but are you able to recall the clarification or the linking with the schedule 2 का para 5 by the circular? एक बार कंफर्म करना. करेक्ट, थैंक यू संजय. सो सिर्फ amount is being received, if only the amount is being received, you cannot say that there is a supply. There has to be the express or the implied agreement to do or abstain from doing something against payment of consideration for a taxable supply to exist. They've given the multiple example like notice pay, in which the employee leave the organization before completing the notice period, and then he, in that case, he need to pay to the amount, he need to pay the amount to the employer. Will that be taxable? The circular clarified no, there is no underlying supply. It is only so that the employee should take the seriousness of the organization. That's it. So therefore such notice pay would not be taxable. Considering the principle laid out in the said circular, it determines that where the voucher is issued for the purpose of the redemption in respect of the supply of the goods or services, and there is no express or implied agreement, oral or written, between the issuer and the redeemer for payment of any amount or charge by the redeemer to the voucher issuer in case of the non-redemption, it cannot be considered that non-redemption of the voucher by the redeemer tantamount to the supply of the service. ठीक है. Therefore it appear that amount attributable to the non-redemption of the voucher would not constitute as monetary value. Monetary value for what? Of any act or forbearance in respect of, in response or inducement of the supply of the goods or services, whether by the recipient or by any other person. Therefore, no GST would be payable on such amount. Circular, it is 243. So you can read that definition of the services. So, and that for explanation, the services include facilitating or arranging the transaction in security. Chitra, whatever you were saying. Okay. Any other question on the voucher you may ask? Okay. So fine. So we can just try to help me. So crux of the circular, if the voucher is PPI, if the voucher is prepaid instrument, then what would be your answer? In short, you can tell me just in the chat. If it is better that it is considered or it is treated as money. And what about the taxability? What about the taxability? Not taxable by what reason? It is not taxable by what reason? क्या रीजन देंगे आप? क्या रीजन देंगे आप? Because money is neither goods nor services. Yes. Second is if the voucher is not PPI, then how would be the taxability would arise? It is actionable claim, and actionable claims are covered in the Schedule 3 Para 6. And then will it be taxable or will it not be taxable? It will not be taxable. Will you add some wording for the specified actionable claim? Will you add something? हाँ, ये वाली बात आपको जरूर लिखनी है, because except specified actionable claim and voucher is not a specified actionable claim and therefore it is covered in the Schedule 3. Absolutely correct. And then उसके बाद में हमने क्या read किया था? What we have read? Then we have moved to the if the it is being sold on principal to principal basis. If it is being sold in principal to principal basis by the distributor, sub distributor, or then it means what they are doing? They are doing the trading of the voucher. What would be your answer? Would be about the taxability along with reason. Trading of the voucher. P2P trading, principal to principal trading, and not taxable. Okay. Okay. ठीक है. So what you will say? That trading of the voucher, because voucher per se is neither goods nor services, therefore uska jo transaction hoga, the trading would itself not create any liability. And if it is principal to agent, then what would be your answer? If it is principal to agent, then what would be your answer? If it is principal to agent, then what would be your answer? On commission basis, etc. Then what would be your answer? Then you will say GST. Trading the voucher, that is not taxable. For commission, it would be taxable. For commission is taxable. And Sanjay Singh, taxable. Yes, absolutely correct. So if I am giving the voucher on the principal to principal basis, then if I'm giving the voucher, it is not taxable, you have clarified. But what about when I will give the supply of the main underlying item? Will that also be taxable or out of GST? Underlying goods or services for which I have issued the voucher. जब मैं मेन अंडरलाइंग आइटम की सप्लाई करूंगा, will it be taxable or not taxable? It would be taxable. It would be taxable. And there was one more point. If there is an additional services like advertisement, marketing, etc., will that be taxable? Liable to GST? Yes, that would be liable to GST. Now, what is one term we have? GST unredeemed voucher, which is being accounted in the profit and loss account. Once it is unredeemed till the expiry date, then normally we are booking the amount as profit and loss account as income. What is being called? It is called as breakage. So breakage can be treated as monetary value of any act, forbearance, etc. or not? Will it be taxable or not taxable? इसके लिए आपको क्या करना पड़ेगा? You need to refer one circular. Which circular we talked about? Which circular we talked about? Number is not important. Again, I am saying number is not important. If you know the crux, that is okay. Let me again highlight that what is the important part of the, there is a various important part, लेकिन जिस पार्ट को इस पैरा में इस यहां पर रेफर किया गया तो वो क्या था कि mere receipt of the money is not create liability or is not presumed that there is a supply. There has to be the express or implied contract or agreement where it can be oral, it can be written. Yes, Yogesh, absolutely correct. मतलब there has to be the implied contract for supply. अगर वो नहीं है तो mere amount is being received, it cannot be considered as supply presumed to exist. Absolutely correct. So by this we have completed circular 243 in all glances, and voucher taxability of the vouchers is also being completed. ठीक है. What is being pending in the section 12 and section 13? What is pending in section 12 and section 13? Just confirm. So let's move to the, shall I move to the section 14 then? Shall I move to the section 14 then? सेक्शन 13 में कुछ पेंडिंग रह गया?
No, I meant section 14, wrongly related.
Okay. Geet, what RCM new amendment? RCM of the service date of the issue of the voucher by the redemption. Okay. Just let me see that whether this particular amendment is applicable or not. Just give me 1 minute. Fine. Okay, that part, let me complete that. Let me discuss that part also. What is the time of supply for the services under reverse charge? So time of supply under reverse charge will be as under. Now the new clause is being inserted and see. Date of the receipt of the date of the payment, date immediately following 60 days from the issue of the invoice or any other document by the supplier in case where the invoice is required to be issued by the supplier, and date of issue of invoice by the recipient in case where the invoice is issued by the recipient. Earlier there was only two dates which we are comparing in the RCM transaction of services. Date of issue, date of payment and date of issue of the voucher or any other document by whatever name called, जो supplier issue करता है. But if the invoice will be issued by the recipient, is required to be issued by the recipient, then date of the issue of the invoice by the recipient. I normally discuss this point. 1 second. I have also discussed in the last class, but let me repeat once again. What I'm talking about? I'm talking about section 31, subsection 3, clause F of CGST Act. Okay. It is goods, it is services. Sorry, it is, let's say, 9.3 and 9.4. Goods and services both are tax, both are there, and it is where supplier is registered and supplier is not registered. I should say self invoice. I should say payment voucher. Why I have written and deleted? Because I like to highlight 2 points. Whether it is 9.3 or 9.4, in both the cases it is applicable. Self invoicing it is applicable. Payment voucher, we'll talk about those 2 minutes later. Self invoicing would be required if the supplier is registered. Answer is yes or no. No. Why no? Why no? Because if the supplier is, then he must issue the tax invoice. He must issue the tax invoice now. If you go to the rule 46, which talks about the multiple content which has to be there on the tax invoice, you will find that there is one clause which talks about RCM applicable, yes or no. Yes, you guess. So if I am advocate and registered advocate, then I will issue the tax invoice to you, but I will state whether tax is payable under RCM, yes or no. I will say yes. It means the recipient is not required to issue the self invoicing in that case. But if it is not registered, then self invoicing would be required. If it is not registered, then self invoice would be required. Okay. What about the payment voucher? Payment voucher would be required in both the cases, whether supplier is registered or supplier is not registered. Okay. So if you refer, so that we will discuss in detail in the invoice accounts and records chapter. Okay. But just small portion I'm saying that time limit to issue the self invoice is, okay, what is the time limit to issue the self invoice? That is 30 days. The invoice is to be issued within a period of 30 days from the date of the receipt of the supply, as the case may be. See, एक बात बताइए, whether self invoicing is applicable for services or it is applicable for goods also? It is applicable for goods also. Self invoicing, assume that supplier is unregistered. अगर supplier unregistered है, क्या self invoicing applicable है for the recipient in case of the goods? Answer is it is applicable. It is applicable. एक बात बताएं, whether the similar changes are there in case of the RCM for goods? क्या ये similar change in case of the RCM for goods भी किया है? Just confirm whether the same changes are being made for the goods. No. always remember that this point is being made, this point is being inserted only for the services. It is very nice to see that you are knowing this, that there is no changes and here is the changes. It could be because of any reason. We don't know what is the intention of the legislative, but prima facie, if you ask me, sir, what could be the reason that they have not inserted? There could be the two reasons. One reason, goods is tangible item, सर्विस इज इंटेंजिबल. तो गुड्स के केस में टेंजिबिलिटी है, मतलब वी कैन सी, वी कैन आइडेंटिफाई, there would be some stock registered wherein the entry is being happening, but services might be nothing is being happen. You cannot trace the services whether it is being actually received, when it is being actually received. Primarily it will not be identifiable, date of the receipt of services. एक तो क्या था, गुड्स टेंजिबल है. And what was that? If you talk about the RCM for goods, there were 3 dates. What was the first? Date of the receipt of goods. ठीक है, first point. Second point, date of issue of invoice by the supplier. How much days we are adding? How much days we are adding? There in case of goods. 31. Or any other document by whatever name called. Or any other document by whatever name called. Try to understand. We are adding plus 30 days, following 30 days or 31 you can say, from supplier invoice or any other document. ठीक है. And what is the time limit to raise the self invoice? 30 days from receipt. 30 days from receipt of goods. 30 days from receipt of goods. Because the receipt of the goods become the time of supply. First reason, because the receipt itself become the time of supply. And second, जब डॉक्यूमेंट सप्लायर ने इश्यू किया उसमें अगर आपने 30 डेज के बाद टैक्सेबिलिटी अराइज की, तो अगर आप ये क्लॉज गुड्स में भी इंसर्ट करते, देन इट माइट डेफर द टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई. इट माइट डेफर द टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई, क्योंकि व्हाट इज द टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई फॉर सर्विसेज? 30 days from the receipt of the services. In case I am talking about self invoice. Correct? So these are two broad reasons. One is the receipt of the goods itself become the time of supply, which is written in the section 12 subsection 3, and therefore there is no requirement to give the extended time of 30 days, because self invoicing भी कब issue करना है? Self invoicing भी कब issue करना है? 30 दिन के अंदर issue करना है ना. 30 days from the date of the receipt of goods or services. Is that clear? Reasoning, I am not sure whether the same reason was there or it may be the different reason. I'm not saying, but I'm just trying to give the reasoning of my understanding. ठीक है, एक 10 मिनट का ब्रेक लेते हैं. लेट्स टेक ए स्मॉल ब्रेक ऑफ 7 मिनट और 10 मिनट एंड वी विल रिज्यूम एट 8 o'clock. थोड़ा सा पहले आ जाएंगे, स्लाइटली कम अर्ली 2-3 मिनट्स. ठीक है, अजीत जी एक बार 10 मिनट का ब्रेक स्टार्ट कर दीजिए. Now tell me, in case of the associated enterprises located outside India, can you help me to just tell one thing कि associated enterprises का transaction का taxability time of supply why they have covered under RCM? Why they have covered under RCM if the associated enterprise is located outside India? Supplier is unregistered, okay. Why they have covered in the 13 subsection 3 agar associated enterprises is located outside India? Why? Because outside taxable territory. Correct. So if I'm saying outside India, it means outside taxable territory, right, Chitra? If the supplier is located outside India, can I say it will be taxed? And if it is a services from outside India, can I say that it will be import of service which would be taxable under RCM only? Can I say this? कि अगर आपने सर्विस रिसीव किया from outside India, then definitely it is import of service. And in case of the import of services, the liability would under RCM. And therefore, what would be the time of supply? It is covered in the RCM provision only. Now, in this case, we are not required to cover those three things which we have discussed above. What is the time of supply in case of associated enterprises services? The time of supply will be date of payment or date of the entry of the service in the books of accounts of the recipient, whichever is earlier. Now, the time of supply for reverse charge in case of services is being divided in two parts. If it is other than associated enterprises located outside India, in that case, I can say that there will be the 3 date which you have discussed above. And if it is associated enterprises from outside India, services received from associated enterprises outside India, then I can say the time of supply would be 2 date. What is the 2 date? That payment or date of entry, whichever is earlier. ठीक है? Now we will discuss. And time of supply of services in case of the enhancement of the value on account of the interest, late fees, or penalty for delayed payment of any consideration. What is the time of supply? Time of supply will be the date on which such enhancement is being actually received by the supplier. This is the only provision where the taxability would arise on the date of the receipt instead of the date of invoice. So let me complete section 14 first, and then we will see these type of the diagram. ठीक है? Change in the rate of the taxes in respect of the supply of the goods or services, and this become now very, very important. This become now very, very important after the recent council meeting. So the recent, whatever the council meeting has happened, they have made the changes, and that will be effective on by September 2025, right? So that, and because the rate has been decreased, tax almost. So the doubt would arise, will my older tax rate would be applicable or will my new tax rate would be applicable? First, we will read the provision, and then at the end, we will discuss the shortcut key to remember. Shortcut key to the remember. First, we will discuss the provision, whatever the provision is. You are having the idea na ki recent there is a council meeting which has reduced the tax rate. You all are having the idea right now. From correct now? Yes, yes, yes. Great, great. Change in the rate of the taxes. It is applicable for goods and it is applicable for services. It says that notwithstanding anything contained in section 12 or section 13, the time of supply where there is a change in the rate of the taxes shall be determined in the following manner. Clause A. What clause A says? It says that if the supply has been before the CRT, if the supply is before CRT, so I will use the word term CRT, change in the rate of the taxes. Okay. The supply has been before CRT, where the, and now there is three permutation combination. If invoice has been issued and the payment is being received after the CRT date, the time of supply shall be the date of the receipt of the payment or date of issue of the invoice, whichever is earlier. Date of receipt of payment or date of issue of the invoice, whichever is earlier. यहाँ एक बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग पॉइंट आएगा that we will discuss. Where the invoice has been issued prior but payment is received after, the time of supply shall be the date of invoice. यहां पर क्या था? Invoice and payment दोनों ही after था. Invoice and payment both are after. So therefore we can say the time of supply shall be whichever is earlier. Time of supply shall be whichever is earlier. Now where the invoice has been issued prior but payment is being received after, the time of supply shall be the date of invoice. ठीक है. Third, when the payment has been received before and invoice is being issued after, the time of supply shall be date of the receipt of payment. Time of supply shall be the date of the receipt of the payment. Give me the answer. I have supplied certain goods to you. I like to ask one question to all of you. Just tell me the answer. And on this clause I am talking about. You have given the payment on, let's say 10th, let's say 6th of September. I have given the supply on 7th of September. I have raised the invoice on 23rd of September. Payment कब मिला मुझे? So our change in the rate of the taxes is by September. I have received the payment before the change. I have given the supply before the change, but I have given the invoice after the rate of the changes, that is 23rd September. What would be the time of supply? Tell me. It is goods only. Yes, yes, it is goods. I'm talking about it is a supply of the goods. It is supply of the goods. In other words, can I say the time of supply will be 6th of September? Any doubt? I think there has to be some doubt. क्या advance for supply of the goods become taxable in this case? क्या advance for the supply of the goods will become taxable in this case? I'm asking the question to you. Park this question for some time. Park this question for some time. Geet and Chitra, do you have any other view? कि क्या यहां पर डेट ऑफ एडवांस विल बिकम टैक्सेबल? क्या ये टैक्सेबिलिटी वुड अराइज ऑन द डेट ऑफ पेमेंट? कैन आई से that advance would be taxable in the section 14? Can I say that advance would be taxable in the section 14? My transaction is goods. Sanjay saying yes. Yogesh is saying yes. Okay. Any other view? Park this question. Park this question for some time. We will read some more point. ठीक है, ये एक डाउट था या एक यूं कहूं ये एक बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग पॉइंट था जो मुझे आपको कन्वे करना था. In case of the goods or services, if it has been supplied after the change in the rate of the taxes, again we same baat. If the payment is being received after invoice has been issued prior, then the time of supply will be the date of receipt of payment. When the invoice has been issued and the payment is being received before the CRT, when the invoice has been issued and the payment is being received, both is being received prior, then I can say whichever is earlier. If invoice is after and payment is before, then the time of supply shall be the date of invoice. How we can learn this point in short, in tricks? You probably all knows the tricks, this point, because it is very famous. Let me tell you this point. Right. Absolutely correct, beta. Absolutely correct. Right, Geet. हम क्या करते हैं? Let's say it is the answer of the question 2 is the time of supply. It is a very simple, nothing special. Now try to understand that this is the CRT. This line is the CRT, change in the rate of the taxes. Okay. Suppose I have given the supply before CRT and I issued the invoice after CRT and I have received the payment after CRT. Tell me where is the majority? Tell me where is the majority? In this 3 date, where is the majority? It is before and it is after. Here I will write before CRT and here I will write after CRT. Tell me, majority is before or majority is after? You all will say majority is after. Then you can simply say new rate will be applicable. The question number 1, the answer will give you the which rate is applicable. Now exact date. Once you give the answer to the question number 1, once you give the answer to the question number 1, please remove the supply. Now, what is the answer of the question number 1? After. In the after, how many dates are there? 1 or 2. How many dates are there? 1 or 2. I can say there are 2 dates. So I will follow the concept of whichever is earlier. What will be the time of supply? Time of supply invoice or payment, whichever is earlier. Okay. Clear? Let's move to the one more question. Invoice is before supply is after, no, supply is also before and payment is after. Now tell me, where is the majority? Is it before or is it after? Where is the majority? Is it before or is it after? You all will say, sir, it is after. So new rate will be applicable or old rate or before. Sorry, majority is before. So therefore I can say the old rate would be applicable. Where is the majority? It is before. Therefore, I can say the new rate, change in the rate of the taxes, it will not applicable. Old rate would be applicable. Once you give the answer to the question number 1, what you will remove? Once you give the answer to the question number 1, what you will remove? You will remove the supply. How many dates are there in before? How many dates are there in before? How many date are there in before? Only one. Only one. What is that? Invoice. So time of supply will become the date of invoice. Time of supply will become the date of invoice. Do one or two more question. Assume that payment is being received before, supply is after, and sorry, payment is after and invoice is before. Which question number 1? Before or after? Majority. Where is the majority? Where is the majority? Before or after? Answer is after. So I can say old rate would be applicable and new rate would be applicable. Old rate or new rate? Answer is new rate. Now tell me, what should I do after the answering to the question number 1? What should I do after answering the question number 1? What should I do after answering the question number 1? I will remove the supply. Now tell me, how many dates are there? How many dates are there? How many dates are there? I can say only one date. Date of payment will be the time of supply. Date of payment will be the time of supply. Fine. I hope it is clear. Last, let me do the last. Invoice and payment both are before, supplies after. Now tell me, new rate will be applicable or old rate? Before or after? Before, old rate. Once I will give the answer to the question number 1, what should I do? Once I will give the answer to the question number 1, what should I do? I will remove the supply. I will remove the supply. Then in the before, how many dates are there? In the before, how many dates are there? There are 2 dates. So I will follow the concept of whichever is earlier. I will follow the concept of whichever is earlier. Okay. I hope all are clear, right? Now there is no doubt. There is no doubt. Everything is clear with respect to question number 14. अब एक बार, there is one proviso and there is one explanation that we will discuss. Provided that date of receipt of payment shall be the date of credit in the bank account if such credit in the bank account is after 4 working days from the date of CRT. It says that if the date of the receipt of the payment after 4 working days अगर बैंक अकाउंट में क्रेडिट हुआ है 4 दिन के बाद, 4 वर्किंग डेज के बाद, तो क्या होगा? डेट ऑफ रिसीट ऑफ पेमेंट विल बी द डेट ऑफ क्रेडिट इन द बैंक. Normally I can say date of the receipt of the payment means whichever is shall be the date on which the payment is entered or credited, whichever is earlier. ठीक है, let me again this time I will give the date. Before CRT, let's say I have made the supply. ठीक है, on I am writing the date on 7th of September. I have received the payment on, I am seeing date of passing the entry is 21 September and date of credit is 23rd September. What will be the date of payment? What will be the date of payment? (21st September). Date of payment will be 21st September. And let's say supply has been, invoice has been issued on 23rd September. ठीक है, so you can say majority is before and time of supply will be payment date. Correct? Old rate would be applicable. Simple. Now what happened? Suppose date of credit in the bank is 29 September. Actually, you have received the payment on 29 September only. Then I am assuming if that provision is not there of the 4 working days, how there is a possibility to make the adjustment? I am saying that assume that proviso is not there. Which proviso? 4 working days. How it can be used to play the tax rate? Actually, the credit is being happen on 29th, but you will pass the accounting entry. On 21 September. As per the explanation, that date of the payment whichever is earlier. So it means you are preponing the date as 21 September. You are preponing the date of payment as 21 September just by passing the accounting entry. Actually, the amount has been received or credited in the bank on 29 September only. अगर ये proviso नहीं होता, if this proviso is not there, then there may be the possibility that someone can do the adjustment with the old tax rate or new tax rate just by passing the accounting entry in the books. Correct? So therefore, this 4 days ka concept is being inserted. This 4 days is also applicable in normal section 12 and section 13 or not? Or only in the CRT case it is applicable? This 4 days ka concept is applicable only in the CRT case, yeah, it is applicable in the normal also? Answer is not applicable in section 12 and section 13. It is applicable only in the CRT case. Correct? Just allow me 1 minute. Read the provision, read the example. If interior decorator design and renovate the office of XYZ in June, the invoice is to be raised after the approval of the work. In the meantime, the rate of the taxes is changed. Invoice is raised and payment is made later in the month of the July. Hence, the time of supply will be the invoice and payment is after and supply has been made before. Answer is new rate will be applicable and time of supply will be whichever is earlier. ठीक है. So question number 1 is very simple. Answer to the question number 1, that is where is the majority, that will decide whether new rate will be applicable or old rate. And to decide exact date, what is the time of supply, you need to go to the question number 2. For that I told you that remove the supply, you will be able to identify. A Limited make the custom made tools for which it take full advance with the purchase order. One such order is being received on 13th April and full amount is paid with this order. The tools are manufactured and delivered on 22nd May. Invoice is also issued on the same date. In the meantime, the rate of the taxes was increased from 20th May. Again, very simple. Quickly give me the answer. What would be the time of supply? What would be the time of supply? Because where is the majority? Before or after? Answer is after the majority. And after that, it means new rate would be applicable. Remove the supply. And how many dates are there in the after? In this case, there are 2 dates. Sorry. Invoice is issued and tools are manufactured and delivered. So supply, see how you will draw this. You have received the payment before and you have supplied after, and your date of invoice is after. Where is the majority? You will say after. What you will remove? Supply I will remove. How many dates are there now in the after? How many dates are there in the after? Only 1 date. So what is the time of supply? What is the time of supply? Date of invoice. What is the time of supply? Date of invoice. Simple. Correct. Na? Payment entered in the books of accounts and change in the rate of the taxes and payment credited in the bank account. If it is after 4 working days. After 4 working days, then only this proviso will be applicable. The date of the credit in the bank, is equal to the date of the receipt of the payment, and you will not count the when you have passed the accounting entry. When you have passed the accounting entry. Okay, by this we have completed the chapter. We'll do some flowchart, etc. We'll read some flowchart, etc. And just 1 minute दीजिएगा मुझे. Any doubt? If you have any doubt, you can unmute and ask the question. मैं एक चीज देख रहा हूं खाली, ठीक है, and then I will talk about with you. I have asked one question regarding the payment for section 14 for goods. Okay. If the question I'm talking about in the exams, if the question is that same, you have supplied the goods, payment is being received, full 100% payment is being received before the CRT. Okay. Before the CRT, and also you have given the supply before the CRT and you have raised the invoice after the CRT. See, let me again repeat the question. My question is just I'm telling what you should use the approach in the exam. What you should use the approach in the exam. What is the date of payment? Let's say date of payment is 7 September. What is the date of supply? Let's say date of the supply is 21st September. What is the date of invoice? Date of invoice will be the 23rd September. Assume. Okay. It is after. Then you will say where is the majority? You will say majority is before. Correct? And then what would be your answer? You will remove the supply. You will remove the supply. You will remove the supply, right? And then what would be your answer? Date of payment will be the time of supply. You will remove the supply and you will say the date of payment will be the time of supply. Am I right? Now, please highlight this part. This line is very, very important. See, this question will not come in the exam. It is not so much of importance because it is a very simple point, very silly point. On this point, the question cannot be asked. But even if it is asked, then your answer should contain this point. Your answer should contain this point. What I like to say, the notification has given the relaxation that we will not treat the taxability of goods at the time of receipt of advance, right ना? इस नोटिफिकेशन ने यही तो कहा था कि भाई मैं जो टैक्सेबिलिटी क्रिएट करूंगा that we will not consider the date of advance. In exercise of the power by the notification this, a registered person should pay the GST at the time of supply as specified in 12(2)(a. That is the date of invoice or the last date on which invoice is required to be issued. Now, what is written? Including in the situation attracted the provision of section 14. क्या मतलब हुआ इसका? What does it means? It means that the relaxation of the GST on the date of advance for goods is not only for section 12, it is also for the section 14. ये बात क्लियर हुई कि मुझे एडवांस पर टैक्स नहीं देना है गुड्स के केस में, not only in the section 12 but in section 14 also. Is this point clear to you? Is this point clear to you? Ultimate answer, ultimate point that government will not lose the revenue, answer would remain same. From the government perspective, that will the old tax rate will be applicable, yeah, new tax rate would be applicable, that would remain same. That would not change. But only the time of supply ka date would maybe differ. In this question, you are saying time of supply would be 7th September. You are saying the time of supply would be 7th September, but please consider the language of the notification 66. It says that I will be extended in the section 14 also. I would be extended in the section 14, then what it says. See, if I am giving the supply on 21st September, if I am giving the supply on 21st September, what would be the last date to issue the tax invoice as per section 31? इनवॉइस इश्यू करने का लास्ट डेट क्या होगा? अगर मैंने सप्लाई आज किया है, लेट्स से टुडे इज 21st September, what would be the last date to issue the tax invoice? Date of removal of the goods. Date of removal of the goods. Then in this case, assume that supply means I have removed the goods on 21st September only. Date of removal of the goods will be the 21st September. And date of invoice is 23rd September. According to section 12, this is the last day to issue the tax invoice. Therefore, the time of supply would be 21st September. Will you pay the old tax rate or will you pay the new tax rate? Will you pay the old tax rate or will you pay the new tax rate? Old. And आप लोगों ने क्या आंसर दिया था? नया आंसर टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई जो आपने पहले आंसर दिया था वो ओल्ड था या न्यू था? वो भी ओल्ड था, वो भी ओल्ड था. मीनिंग देयर बाय that new tax rate would be applicable, yeah, old tax rate would be applicable. That is not create the problem. That will remain same. Only the date of time of supply might be different. So if anything, अगर मैं एज्यूम करता हूं, अगर ऐसा क्वेश्चन आता है जो मैंने आपसे बोला है, जो मैंने आपको एग्जांपल दिया है, might you have to write this line. Is that clear to all? Is that clear to all? ये बात आपको जरूर लिखनी है. आई होप इट इज क्लियर. ये वाला वर्ड है ना, कई बार मिस हो जाता है. ये वाला वर्ड कई बार मिस हो जाता है, ध्यान में नहीं रहता. Therefore, I am saying you should give the attention to this. Just allow me 2 minutes. Just allow me 2 minutes. If you have any question, you ask. Otherwise, I will come back. Just allow me 2 minutes. No question? No question? Is there any doubt? So in the last, ma'am will take the 5 round of the question answer. So I will not take today 5 round of the question answer. ठीक है. Let's do the flow chart. एक बार हम फ्लो चार्ट का डिस्कशन कर लेते हैं, which we will give the ample clarity to the entire chapter. Chapter is small, that is okay. ठीक है. अब ये चैप्टर की रिवीजन की तो रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं है ना एग्जाम के पहले. आई डोंट फील दैट देयर इज एनी रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ एनी रिवीजन. यू ऑल आर वेरी मतलब वेरी एक्सीलेंट. एक बार जस्ट टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई ऑफ द गुड्स अंडर फॉरवर्ड चार्ज बेसिस. गिव मी द आंसर. व्हाट इज द टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई ऑफ द गुड्स अंडर फॉरवर्ड चार्ज बेसिस 12/2? The to date will be the date of invoice and last date to issue the invoice, whichever is earlier. अगर मैं if I'm sending the goods on approval, sales on approval, if I'm sending the goods on approval basis, what would be the last date to issue the tax invoice? What would be the last date to issue the tax invoice? Maximum 6 months or date of supply? Maximum 6 months or date of supply? 6 months. Sanjay, 6 months, not 60 days. What would be the time of supply, the supply of service on the forward charge basis? What is the time of supply on the services for the forward charge basis? If let's say, let me divide. If the invoice is issued within time, if invoice is issued within time, अगर आपने इनवॉइस इश्यू किया विद इन टाइम, देन डेट ऑफ इनवॉइस और पेमेंट. Why you are writing which WIE? So I think WE, मतलब just correcting git correcting, मतलब whichever is earlier, okay, ठीक है. Date of invoice or payment, whichever is earlier, ठीक है. Now second, if the invoice is not issued within time, if invoice is not issued within time, then if invoice is not issued within time, what would be the time of supply? हाँ, date of provision of service or date of payment, whichever is earlier. So the date of the provision of service or date of payment, whichever is earlier, ठीक है. And if invoice is not at all issued, then 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 date of receipt of service. ठीक. Now, what is the time limit for raising the invoice? For goods, you all have clarified. For services, let me talk about. In case of the services, normally what is the time limit? In case of the services, normally what is the time limit? Normally the time limit is 30 days. In which all cases the time limit is 45 days? किस किस सिचुएशन में टाइम लिमिट 45 है? In which categories the time limit is 45? हाँ, बैंकिंग तो याद रह जाएगा. इंश्योरेंस यू माइट फॉरगॉट. So banking, financial institution, NBFC, that is okay, but plus insurance, the time limit is 45 days. And when the concept of quarterly is applicable, please give me the answer in detail कि quarterly कब applicable होगा? Distinct person or related person, and who should be the supplier in every case, or it is limited in every case, or it is limited to same that organization plus one more sector is being added in the concept of this up to quarterly. Yes, telecom. Very nice. If it is RCM, then what is the time of supply in case of the goods? What is the time of supply in case of goods? Receipt of goods. Okay. Date of receipt of goods, then supplier invoice or any other document plus 30 days following. Yeah, either you will use the word following 30 days. ठीक है, following 30 days. And third is payment. Are we considering the payment in case of the RCM after that notification also? Are we considering the date of payment even after that notification? Yes, because absolutely correct. Because that notification is given for 12 subsection 2, that is forward charge, and RCM is being covered in the 12.3. Very right. So it will still continue. What is the time of supply for services under RCM? What is the time of supply for services under RCM? There are also 3 dates. What is 3 dates? Services in case of RCM. Date of receipt of services will we take? क्या सर्विस की रिसीट लेना है मेरे को? Will I take the date of the receipt of services? Answer is no. Correct. So what I will take first, what I will take RCM के केस में टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई, RCM सर्विसेज के केस में टाइम ऑफ सप्लाई क्या होगा? द फर्स्ट इज द पेमेंट, डेट ऑफ पेमेंट. सेकेंड इज इनवॉइस बाय सप्लायर following 60 days in case supplier is required to issue the tax invoice. And third, the self invoice. Third, the self invoice. Are we giving some additional date from the self invoice? Are we giving some additional time from the date of the self invoice in case of the time of supply? क्या हम इसमें 30 days, 45 days or something are we adding? 4 days का कॉन्सेप्ट, तो 4 days का कॉन्सेप्ट कौन सा हुआ? वो सेक्शन 14 में है ना संजय? that is in the section 14, right? So अभी तो हम सिर्फ 13.3 की बात कर रहे हैं. As of now we are talking about 13.3. सेल्फ इनवॉइस में 31 days 30 days का कोई कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं है. सेल्फ इनवॉइस बनाने का जो टाइम लिमिट है, द टाइम लिमिट टू मेक द सेल्फ इनवॉइस इज 30 days from the date of the receipt of service. That is altogether different. मेरा क्वेश्चन क्या था? इनवॉइस जब आपने बना लिया, क्या उसमें और एडिशनल डेज मिलेगा? आंसर इज नो. इनवॉइस बनाने का टाइम लिमिट इज 30 days फ्रॉम द डेट ऑफ द रिसीट ऑफ द गुड्स और सर्विसेज. राइट, राइट. If the above dates are not ascertainable, then what would be the time of supply? If these any of the dates are not ascertainable, then what would be the time of supply? The date of entry in the books, date of entry of the books of the recipient. So Sanjay, यहाँ पे बात recipient की कर रहे हैं. So therefore we can say, because we are talking about RCM ना, we are talking about reverse charge, right? So therefore the date of entry of the recipient will be matter, not the supplier. ठीक है ना? If it is import of service from associated enterprises, will the what will be the time of supply? अगर मैंने एसोसिएट एंटरप्राइज से, हाँ गीत, उसमें क्या था प्रॉब्लम? वहां पे इंटेंशन का प्रॉब्लम था. देयर वाज एन प्रॉब्लम ऑफ इंटेंशन, बिकॉज सप्लायर ने ना इनवॉइस इश्यू किया विद इन टाइम और ना इनवॉइस बनाया है, तो यू कैन नॉट डिटरमाइन. सो इट मीन्स व्हाट हैपन, he has not recorded the entry at all in the books of accounts, therefore they have gone to the recipient. But your point is correct, your point is correct, very nice. Import of service from associated enterprises, first tell me whether associated enterprises is located in India. If the associated enterprises is located in India, then also it will be applicable. The time of supply which we are talking about, the time of supply for associated service received from associated enterprises, that is possible if the associated enterprises is located in India. Possible? No, it is not possible, because we are talking about RCM, because we are talking about reverse charge. And in the reverse charge, can you tell me the definition of import of service? There are three conditions. For the import of service, there are three conditions. Might be it is not relevant to this chapter, but yes, तीन कंडीशन सेटिस्फाइड होनी चाहिए तभी इंपोर्ट ऑफ सर्विस कहलाया जाता है. इट इज कॉल्ड इंपोर्ट ऑफ सर्विस ओनली व्हेन थ्री कंडीशन आर सेटिस्फाइड. एनीवन? गिविंग यू 1 minute. क्या बात, वेरी नाइस यार, वेरी नाइस, वेरी नाइस, वेरी नाइस बेटा. सो देयर आर थ्री कंडीशन. व्हाट आर द थ्री कंडीशन? द सप्लायर शुड बी outside India, recipient should be in India, and the place of the supply should also be India. The place of the supply should be also India. So supplier, if the associated enterprises is located outside India, then only we can say, if the associated enterprises is located outside India, then only we can say that it is import of service. What will be the time of supply? You already have given the answer. Date of entry in the books of accounts or date of payment, whichever is earlier. Okay, Sanjay. And Geet also date of entry and date of payment, whichever is earliest. Correct. Same. Time of supply for the goods and services, we have already discussed it in detail. 12.4 and 13.4 has been omitted from the law by the Finance Act 25, yet the effective date to be notified. Okay. Time of supply of the goods or services in the residuary case, what would be the time of supply in the residuary case? अगर periodical return applicable है, then if the periodical return is applicable, then due date of filing of the return or date of filing of return? If the periodical return is applicable, then date of filing of return or due date of filing of return? Sanjay and everyone, Yogesh, Geet, is it date of filing or due date of filing? See, Sanjay is talking about date of filing, Yogesh is talking about due date, and Geet is talking about the due date. Underline this word. We are not giving the benefit to the late filer. We are not giving the benefit to the late filer. In that case, what is there? अगर मेरा डेट ऑफ फाइलिंग होता तो मतलब मैं जो लेट फाइलर है, जो डिफॉल्टर है, उनको मैं बेनिफिट दे रहा हूं. We are giving the benefit of the time of supply, that we will not give. And if it is no periodical return is applicable, then I can say date of payment of tax. यहाँ देखिए, यहाँ पे ड्यू डेट नहीं है, यहाँ ड्यू डेट नहीं है, यहाँ डेट है, और यहाँ पे ड्यू डेट है. सो मेक ऑलवेज दिस कंपैरिजन. So again, time of supply for addition in the value by way of the interest or late fees for the delayed payment of any consideration. Just tell me the answer. ठीक है. Change in the rate of the taxes we will do after this break. Let's take a break, a small break, again 7 to 10 minutes. Asuk ji, bas, we will resume at 9. Now tell me, if the supply is before, invoice is after, before, and payment is after, what will be the time of supply? Directly, what would be the time of supply? And new rate is applicable, old rate is applicable? Time of supply क्या बोलूंगा मैं? What would be the time of supply? Date of invoice. Correct. What about the second? Give me the answer for the second. Supply is before, invoice is after, payment is also before. Old rate and date of payment. Third case. Third case. Supply is before, invoice is after, and payment is after. Supply is before, payment is after, and invoice is after. So I can say majority is after. New rate will be applicable. And what would be the time of supply? Remove the supply. Then there are two dates. So I will follow the concept of whichever is earlier. Absolutely correct. Huh. Tell me, what will be the time of supply? सेकंड क्या है? सेकंड कॉलम में मेरा इनवॉइस का ना, हाँ इनवॉइस, एंड थर्ड इज पेमेंट. After and after, I can say the majority is after. New rate will be applicable. Remove the supply, then invoice would be there. Date of invoice is the time of supply. Now, second, after supply, before invoice, and after payment, what would be the time of supply? The question number 1, 2 is after, so new rate would be applicable, and whichever is earlier, no. So I will remove the supply, and therefore I can say date of the payment will be the time of supply. Absolutely correct. And I think last, new rate ki old rate, new rate या old rate? Old rate. And time of supply will be, now I will follow the concept of whichever is earlier. So ठीक है ना? ठीक है. So by this we have completed the time of supply chapter completely, including this particular the revision point that has been given in the study material. Any other point which you like to ask, or we'll move to the circular. एक बार एक सर्कुलर वापस देख लेते हैं. 3 सर्कुलर का हमने बात किया. लेट्स से हम जो एचएम का था ना, उसका एक बार सर्कुलर देख लेते हैं. वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट सर्कुलर. व्हाट वाज द क्रक्स ऑफ दिस सर्कुलर? अगर आप मुझे 1 या 2 लाइन में बताना चाहेंगे ना, व्हाट वाज द क्रक्स ऑफ दैट सर्कुलर? सिंपली टेल मी व्हाट वाज द क्रक्स ऑफ दैट सर्कुलर. मेन क्रक्स क्या था इस सर्कुलर का? So tell me one thing, the HAM, what is the full name of HAM? Hybrid annuity model. ठीक है, हाइब्रिड एन्युटी मॉडल. इसमें जो एग्रीमेंट होता है उस एग्रीमेंट का नाम क्या है? व्हाट वी आर कॉलिंग द एन एग्रीमेंट. सो दिस इज वुड बी in terms of your knowledge only, might be not important from the exam point of view, but your practical oversight, practical looking to the business would be different. ये आपके टर्म्स वैसे काम आएंगे. ठीक है, हैम मॉडल में जो हमारा एग्रीमेंट होता है उस एग्रीमेंट को क्या कहते हैं? we are calling as a concession agreement. We are calling as a concession agreement, but the model, जिस मॉडल पर वो बिजनेस ऑपरेट करता है वो डीबीओटी मॉडल है. मतलब डिजाइन भी करेगा कंसेशनल, बिल्ड भी करेगा, ऑपरेट करेगा, देन ट्रांसफर करेगा. सी देयर इन द इंडस्ट्री देयर आर वेरियस मॉडल इज बीइंग यूज्ड. पहले सिर्फ डिजाइन का काम होता था, उसके बाद वो ट्रांसफर कर देता था. ऑपरेट का काम एनएचआई का था. There are various model is being used according to the time frame, and then as of now currently which is being used, that is DBOT model. उसमें क्या कहते हैं कि there are two contract. What are the two contract? There are two main component of the contract. क्या था दो main component of the contract? एक तो construction of the road, एक तो construction of the road, और दूसरा क्या था? Operation and maintenance of that highway. पेमेंट टर्म्स सेग्रीगेट होती थी. तो व्हाट वाज द क्रक्स ऑफ दैट? विल दिस इज बी ट्रीटेड एज टू सेपरेट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट और वन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट? विल दिस टू बी ट्रीटेड एज टू सेपरेट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट या वन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट? द आंसर इज वन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. अगर इसको मैं वन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कहूंगा तो क्या ये कंटिन्यूस सप्लाई है या सिंगल सप्लाई है? विल इट बी कंसिडर्ड एज ए सप्लाई और विल इट बी ट्रीटेड एज ए कंटिन्यूस सप्लाई? कंटिन्यूस सप्लाई के केस में कुछ मिनिमम नंबर ऑफ डेज है क्या कि इतना मिनिमम नंबर ऑफ डेज वर्क एग्जीक्यूट होना चाहिए, देन इट इज कॉल्ड एज कंटिन्यूस सप्लाई सर्विस? Is there any number of the days, minimum number of the days required to constitute the transaction as continuous supply? Is there any minimum number of the days required to constitute the transaction as continuous supply? Answer is yes, 90 दिन का required है. 90 दिन, संजय 90 दिन. Now, what is the time limit to issue the tax invoice in case of the continuous supply of service? What is the time limit to issue the tax invoice in case of the continuous supply of service? Yes. Periodical statement या periodical payment, whichever is earlier. Periodically payment या periodical statement, whichever is earlier. करेक्ट. एक इंटरेस्ट के बारे में भी कुछ था ना? देयर वाज समथिंग रिगार्डिंग द इंटरेस्ट आल्सो ना? व्हाट वाज दैट? देयर इज समथिंग रिगार्डिंग द इंटरेस्ट आल्सो. जो इंस्टॉलमेंट है, ये जो अमाउंट मुझे एनएचआई पे करता है कंसेशनर को, देन इट विल इंक्लूड द इंटरेस्ट आल्सो. Will it be added in the value or will it not be added in the value? it will be added in the value. हम क्यों ऐड करते हैं इंटरेस्ट को? Why we are adding the interest? Any linkage with any other chapter? Why we are adding the interest in the value? Any linkage with any other provision of this particular GST? Any other chapter? कहां लिखा है interest would be added in the value? Right, it is written in the value of the supply. So when you will read the value of the supply chapter, absolutely correct, valuation provision section 15 subsection 2. अच्छा, next chapter ही है क्या? Section 15 subsection 2, then it is talking about 5 things to be added in the value. 5 things to be added in the value in the, and the clause B talks about interest, late fees, penalty would be added in the value. Would be added in the value. And now what would be the taxability for the delayed payment of any consideration? What would be the taxability? The time of supply will be the time of supply for such interest will be the date of receipt of payment or addition in that value. ठीक है? और एक सर्कुलर हमने स्पेक्ट्रम का पढ़ा था. ये स्पेक्ट्रम जो होता है ये कौन से in which business or in which business model it is being used, for which sector this spectrum usage concept will be applicable? It will be for, yes, telecom sector. Can you tell me what was the crux of that spectrum circular issue clarification on this particular spectrum uses? What was the crux? It is also the continuous supply service. Will it be covered under forward charge or will it be covered under RCM? The answer is it will be applicable in case of the reverse. It is applicable in reverse charge only. Why? Why RCM? Why RCM? Now there may be the upfront payment which we have talked about. Then GST would be payable immediately at the time of the payment under RCM, and if it is a continuous supply, then it will be linked with the due date. Whichever is earlier. So tell me one thing. In case of the continuous supply of the service, the last date to issue the tax invoice are being divided in three parts. In case of the continuous supply of the service, the last date to issue the tax invoice would be divided in three parts. What was that three part? Continuous supply of service में last date to issue the tax invoice. Last date to issue the tax invoice as per the, I think, rule 47 tha, which we talked about. What was the last date to issue the tax invoice in case of the continuous supply of service? There were three dates which we talked about. See, successive statement or payment, whichever is earlier, that is goods. Perfectly okay. But in case of the services, it is being divided in three parts. If the due date is ascertainable from the contract, point to be highlighted, point to be noted. In case of the continuous supply of the service, मैं आपसे क्वेश्चन पूछ रहा हूं, प्लीज गिव द आंसर. अगर मेरा कंटिन्यूअस सप्लाई द सर्विस है, will the successive statement be considered? In case of the continuous supply of the service, will the successive statement, payment or statement, whichever is earlier, which we are talking about, whether the statement is having any importance or having any relevance? संजय यस क्यों कह रहे हो? संजय, why you are saying yes? You can unmute and tell me. You can unmute and tell me why you are saying yes. Why you are saying yes? You can unmute and tell me if you like to. See, एक था time limit to issue the invoice for continuous supply the goods. Goods के केस में दो डेट था, successive statement और payment whichever is earlier. But यहाँ पर successive statement का कोई relevance नहीं है. In case of services, no relevance, no importance of successive statement. There are the three dates. कौन सी date है? Quickly tell me. The three dates is, yes, Geet has already told, and I think 1 second. Due date of the payment, if it is ascertainable, if the due date of the payment is ascertainable from the contract, so (31) subsection 5 में लिखा गया है, what was the date? If the due date of the payment is ascertainable from the contract, then that date. If it is not ascertainable from the contract, then invoice on or after this payment, before or at the time of the payment. And if the payment is linked to certain completion of an event, जैसे मैंने कंस्ट्रक्शन का एग्जांपल दिया था कि 10% on booking, 20% when the row flat is being ready, 20% let's say when tiles etc is being installed, completed, and then balance payment on the delivery. If the due date of the payment is linked, if the payment is linked to the completion of an event, then invoice shall be issued on or before the date of that completion of an event. Is it clear? Fine. Sanjay, do you agree now that the successive statement is not having the importance in case of the continuous supply of that particular service? Correct. ठीक है. And just quickly tell me the crux of the clarification of the vouchers. Voucher के clarification का crux क्या था? What was the crux? of the clarification of the vouchers. And then I will hand over the same to the Swati madam, who will take care of the quiz. So what was the clarification? Short summarized clarification for the vouchers. Okay, let me divide in this part. Kya voucher will be considered as supply? Will the taxability be determined as per the supply of the voucher? Will the voucher will be considered as supply of the goods or services? Will the voucher be considered as supply of the goods or services? नहीं, उस सर्कुलर में नहीं, उसने कहा नहीं. No. Correct. And if the voucher are prepaid vouchers considered as Reserve Bank of India, then if the vouchers are prepaid voucher, prepaid instrument, PPI, then it is equivalent to money. It is equivalent to money, and money per se is neither goods nor services. Therefore, it will not be taxable. And अगर वो PPI नहीं है, if it is not PPI, then if it is not PPI, then also not taxable. Why? Because it is actionable claim, but other than specified actionable claim, it become the specified, it become the actionable claim other than specified. So कौन सा actionable claim taxable है? Actionable, normal actionable claim is taxable in the GST. Yeah, specified actionable claim is taxable in the GST. Is specified. Can you give me one example of the specified actionable claim? Can you give me one example of the specified actionable claim? Absolutely correct. Fine. So if I'm doing the trading of the voucher, I am purchasing the voucher from you on principal to principal basis. I'm selling. I am giving the margin. I am taking some margin. Taxable? Will it be taxable? Answer is no. It will also not taxable. It will also not taxable. Okay. If it is not principal to principal basis, then what could be the other model? उस सर्कुलर में क्या लिखा था? If it is not principal to principal, then what could be the other model? Principal to agent. Principal to agent, wherein I am keeping some commission. Wherein I am keeping some commission, then will it be taxable? हाँ, इसका एक एग्जांपल आपने मुझे और बताया था ना. So if underlying goods or services are not taxable, but I'm keeping the commission, then it will be taxable. So you have also correlated the same provision with the some other I can say definition or something. What was that? Loan, advance दिया, trading of security दी. Yes, it is given in the definition कि if I am exchanging the money from one form currency denomination to the another form currency denomination, or I am doing the means arranging the buying or selling of the securities, then it will be the service. Yes, it will be the service as per the definition of the service. And underlying item तो नहीं है, लेकिन क्योंकि मैं principal to agent के basis पे काम कर रहा हूँ, then therefore it will be taxable. Therefore it will be taxable. Correct. Mostly I have covered everything. So now I think, ma'am, it is handed over to you. Swati ma'am.
Good morning, sir, and good morning, students. I was also planning to for students to revise these two circulars. Sir has already taken this,
Sorry.
so I will take the revise the other remaining concepts very thoroughly. I think when I will take the quiz, all the students will give me the correct answers because each and every provisions has been thoroughly revised by Arun sir. And he has, also raised a lot of rapid fire types questions to Manju, and I am happy to see that majority of all of students are able to give the correct answers also. So, before myself, as you know, she is Swati Agarwal, Faculty Board of Studies. So, before I start with the quiz, let me also just give you a brief, let us just have a brief importance about this topic, time of supply. As we know that GST is all about uniformity and clarity, but when it comes to collecting taxes, the $1 million question which arises is at what point should GST be paid? So this is where the concept of time of supply comes into picture, right? So we want to know at what point of time this tax is paid. So that is why there is an importance of time of supply. It basically, in simple terms, if you will say, then time of supply determines the exact moment when GST liability arises. As you can understand in a layman's language, it is like a starting whistle of a match. The game tax payment officially begins from that point. Like in matches, there is a formal visual is blown. So in similarly, in case of GSC, time of supply is like a starting whistle of the match. And for students, it is very important to go through these concepts and understand it very meticulously, because time of supply, students, this is the heartbeat of GSC. Now you must be wondering why I am saying so, because every return, every invoice, and every tax payment depends on getting this timing right. Right? So everything depends upon the correct time of supply. Time of supply, you can say it is the tickling clock of GST. It tells supplier when the tax meter starts running and ensures the government to get its dues without any delay. So for mastering this concept means staying ahead of the curve and avoiding costly slip-ups. When it comes to GST, remember, time is money, and is in this case tax money. So this was the significance. I just wanted to, before starting the quiz, let's have a brief significance of this topic. Now let's start with the quiz. I hope the message has already been shared in the LVC group and you are ready with some other separate device. It can be your mobile as well. You can log in through it, and I am sharing the screen. So is the screen visible to you? Please let me know through the chat box. This I'm sharing you the link for participation in the quiz. This is the link, and let me share with you the code 383151. This is the joining code 383151. I hope my screen is visible, Mr. Ajit. Sorry? No, ये time of supply, is this not visible to you? I think it might be happening at your desk only. Is every student facing the same issue? Because yesterday also I took the quiz session with intermediate students. I think the message is, let me again share. Is screen visible now? Okay, there might be some network error. It might have been posted. So are you able to have this link joinmyquiz.com, or you may also scan the QR code, and the joining code is 383151. Please let me know through the chat box when you have joined, then we shall start the quiz. Geet Chauhan has joined, Sanjay has also joined, Chitra has joined. Please, all the students, please join. You really will enjoy the session, and your confidence will also get enhanced, because all the provisions, I think, are already very clear to you. So who is left basically? Geet is saying visible now. Chitra joined, Geet joined, Sanjay joined. Yogesh Agarwal, I think you are left. Yogesh, any issue you are facing? Please let me know, then we should start with the quiz. Okay, Yogesh, just let me know when you have joined. Okay. So I hope that all the students have joined. So we are starting the quiz. Arun sir, I think, sir, you have joined. Sir, you will stand at the top then. In the leaderboard, you will come first.
It's new to me, therefore I have joined.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. No issue. So the question is there on your screen. And the question is, Kanchenjunga Private Limited supplies taxable goods to Sucres Private Limited for rupees 2,50,000 on 23rd June and issues the invoice on 25th June. Payment for the goods is made by Sucres Private Limited on 15th July. Determine the time of supply of goods for the purpose of payment of tax. 30 seconds is left with you. Option A, 23rd June, B, 25th June, C, 15th July. Last 10 seconds left. And yes, Yogesh is there on the top of the leaderboard, followed by rank 2 is Chitra. Rank 3 is Sanjay. I think, Arun sir, you have deliberately given the wrong answer. And fifth, Geet Chauhan has not replied. May I know the reason? Please, students, please participate. Either your answer will be right or wrong, but obviously, at the end, you will say that, man, we have learned something, and that doesn't matter even if you have committed some error. That is also not an issue, because if you will participate, your concepts will get clear, and there are chances that in the examination you won't end up in no mistake will be committed in the examination. So the correct answer in this case is, as we know, the correct answer is the option. Let me just minimize it, screen share. Option A is the correct answer, and 4 students have given, including I think sir has given the correct answer. May I know in brief through the chat box the invoking section, the section which is invoked here, although in the examination you might not quote the relevant section number. For Sanjay 12, Yogesh 12, very good. Yes, time of supply of goods. This question is relating to time of supply of goods. So section 12.2 of the CGSCA 2017 is invoked here. It says that time of supply is date of issue of invoice or receipt of payment, which is 2017. Space though the date of issue of invoice is 25th June and payment is received on 15th July, but the time of supply is 23rd June. The reason? Because it is the last date on which invoice ought to have been issued, not the date when the invoice is actually issued, because the goods have been supplied to Sucres Private Limited. We go to section 12 and 13, but section 14 is covered at final level only. So I'm reading it by side by side. You may also start reading because limited time is given to you. 40 seconds are left with you. Question says, I buy furniture is to be delivered to me later in the week when a technician is available to assemble and install it. Next year, the rate of tax applicable to modular furniture is revised upward. And the store sends me a supplementary invoice with the delivery note accompanying the furniture to collect the differential amount of tax. So whether new tax rate is applicable or the old rate is applicable in this case. You still have 1 minute left with you. Three students have already answered. It has been answered by 4. Only 1 is left. Still 1 student is left.
It is exist.
Sir, okay. So, in the leaderboard, we have at the top Chitra. Second rank Yogesh. Third rank is Sanjay. And fourth rank is Geet Chauhan. Sir का log out हो गया था, otherwise sir would have been at the top. So, let us see how many students have given the correct answer. 4 students have given the correct answer. I think you have understood this concept very clear. In this case, store is not correct in issuing the supplementary invoice with revised rate of tax. Why? Because the revised rate of tax, this is not applicable to the transaction. The reason being that issue of invoice as well as receipt of payment that has occurred before the supply. So two events has occurred before the supply. Therefore, in terms of section 14, subsection B, clause 2, time of supply is earlier of the two events, namely issuance of invoice or receipt of payment, both of which are before the change in rate of tax. Hence, old rate of tax remains applicable. Shall we move to the next question? Sir, are you able to join? Have you joined? Let me again share the code. Okay. So, next question is there on your screen. An online portal, Best Info raises invoice for database access on 21st Feb on Roy and Bansal Limited. Payment is made by Roy and Bansal Limited by a demand draft sent on 25th Feb, which is received and entered in accounts of Best Info 28th Feb. Best Info encashes the demand draft and thereafter gives access to the database to Roy and Bansal from 3rd March. In the meanwhile, rate of tax is changed from 1st March to determine the time of supply of the service of database access by Best Info. Option A is 21st Feb, B 28th Feb, C 3rd March, and D is 1st March. You have 1 minute left with you. Last 30 seconds left. $18 seconds. The timing clock has started ticking. And in the leaderboard, we have at the top Chitra, followed by Yogesh, then Sanjay, and then Geet Chauhan. Let's see how many students have given the correct answer. Correct answer is given by only 1 student. Why? I am unable to make out because this is again based upon section 14 only. So why your answer is wrong? What happens? Incorrect answer is by 3 students out of 5 has given the incorrect answer. Can anybody tell me through the chat box why option why 21st Feb is the correct answer? Can anybody tell me? Okay, let me again go through the provisions. In this case, let me have question with me. In this case, issuance of invoice and receipt of payment, that is entry of the payment in best info accounts, both the events has occurred before the change in rate of tax. So time of supply of service by online portal is earlier of date of issuance of invoice. That is, invoice has been issued on 21st Feb, or date of receipt of payment. Date of receipt of payment will be 28th Feb. That is date of making entry in the books of accounts. And earlier of two is 21st Feb. And here, rate of tax has been changed from 1st March. So basically, time of supply is, in this case, is time of supply is 21st Feb, even though the service commences after the change in rate of tax. Right, so this is a catch here. Shall we move to the next question? And the next question is there on the screen. You have the time of 2 minutes with you. Mint Industries Limited, a registered supplier, imports business support services from Green Inc. of USA on 13th of August. Self-invoice is raised for the transaction by Mint Industries Limited on 28th of August. Mint Industries Limited makes the payment against the said invoice on 22nd of September. So determine the time of supply. 13th August, 28th August, or 22nd of September. See, there is an amendment in case of reverse charge provisions, supply reverse charge in case of services. So that has already been explained by sir. I have already given you a hint. Now your answer should be correct. 40 seconds is left with you. Last 10 seconds left. And on the leaderboard, we have Chitra at the top, followed by Yogesh. Third rank is Chauhan. Fourth rank is Sanjay. May I know the invoking section in this case? So that I'm confident that you have given your answer not by the guess mark, but you have understood the concepts, you have applied the correct section. You may mention to the chat box. Section 13.3, Chitra, very good. Geet Chauhan, very good. And how many students have given the correct answer? 3 have given the correct answer. Very good. Good to see the response. So, shall I discuss it with you? Let's discuss it with you so that anybody who has some confusion, the concepts get clear to you. in this case, section 13(3) gets invoked because this is the case of supplies taxable under reverse charge mechanism. As you know that in case of services supplied by a person located in a non-taxable territory to every person other than non-taxable online recipient, tax is payable under reverse charge by the person located in the taxable territory. This is as per IGST notification number 10/17 dated 28 June 2017. So in this case, business support services, they are provided by Green Ink located in a non-taxable territory to Mint Limited. Mint is a person other than non-taxable online recipient and he is also located in a taxable territory. So tax is payable under reverse charge by Mint Limited. Further, the point to note here is that since Green Ink is not registered in India, so invoice has been issued by recipient in this case. Invoice is issued by recipient, that is Mint Industries Limited. So time of supply of services taxable under reverse charge is earlier of the following events: date of payment or date of issue of invoice by the recipient, because invoice is issued by the recipient in this case, right? And if it is so, time of supply is earlier of date of payment, that is 22nd of September, or date of issuance of invoice is 28th of August. And time of supply is basically 28th of August then. Now let's move to the next question. Next question is there on your screen. Please read the question carefully, I can say. Forty seconds are left. Last 9 seconds left. And on the leaderboard, we have at the top Chitra, rank 2 Yogesh, rank 3 Geet Chauhan, and the 4th rank is backed by Sanjay. Let us see how many students have given the correct answer. 27th August. I think everybody has given the correct answer. Very good. This shows that you have understood the concepts very clearly. So shall I discuss? I think I do not need to discuss it because it is like a similar question as we discussed in the previous part. Yes, with the change in the dates so that you are able to correctly apply the concept. I have deliberately taken the questions on particularly section 14 and section 13 because section 14 is there only at the final level and there is an amendment in case of reverse charge. That is why I have tried to capture take questions on the amended portion. So let's move, without taking much time, let's move to the next question. Next question is there on your screen. Kothari Limited Mumbai holds 51% shares of Wilson Inc., a USA-based company. Wilson Incorporation provides business auxiliary services to Kothari Limited. From the following details, determine time of supply of services provided by Wilson. Agreed consideration is $1 lakh. Date on which supply services are provided by Wilson is 16th June. Date on which invoice is issued by Wilson is 19th August. And date of debit in books of accounts of Kothari is 30th September. Date on which payment is made by Kothari is 23rd September. You still have 2 minutes left with you. If all the students have answered, shall we again, we have on the top Chitra, rank 2 Geet Chauhan, rank 3 Yogesh, and rank 4 is Sanjay. So, in this case, let me briefly discuss it with you. In this case, since Kothari Limited holds 51% shares of Wilson, so Kothari and Wilson are associated enterprises as per section 92A of the Income Tax Act 1961. And as per second proviso to section 13(3), section 13 subsection 3 of the CGST Act 2017, in case of supply of service by associated enterprises, where supplier of service is located outside India, then the time of supply is earlier of the two events. And what are those two events? Date of entry in the books of accounts of recipient of supply. Here, Kothari is the recipient. And what is the date of entry? Date of entry is 30th September, date of debit in books of accounts of Kothari Limited, and date of payment by Kothari Limited. And date of payment is 23rd December. So earlier of the two events falls on 30th September. 30th September is the correct answer in this case. Associated enterprises, very good, Keith. Next question is there on your screen. This is the second last question. So be careful. This and the last question will determine who is the leader of the day. This question is big, so we have given more time to you. KLM Limited, a publishing and printing house registered in Maharashtra, is engaged in supply of books, letter card, envelope, guide, and reference material. Following information is provided for printing of books. Date of entering into printing contract, 16th March. Date of receipt of advance, date of completion of printing, date of issue of invoices, 15th May. Date of removal of books and letterheads, 13th May. Date of receipt of balance payment. In respect of printing of books, content was supplied by the author. This additional information is given to you and you have to determine the time of supply. And the time is over. Chitra is at the top. Rank 2 Yogesh, rank 3 Geet, and rank 4 is Sanjay. So may I have your feedback? Is this question seems tricky to you? You may give your feedback in the chat box. Because only one student has given the correct answer in this case and 3 have given the incorrect answer. May I know, is this question seems tricky to you? Geet is saying yes. Sanjay is also saying yes. See students, this is basically an integrated question. What does it mean? At CA final level, you are going to become a chartered accountant just after you clear your examination. So it will not that let's say in an examination, if question is there on the value of supply or a time of supply or of input tax credit, that question will merely test the provisions pertaining to that topic only. There could be integration of other topics as well in a particular question. Here, there is an application of one circular which is discussed in the chapter supply, circular number 11/11 by 2017. 11 by 11 by 2017. Mark this circular in your notepad that when this session is over, I advise you to go through this circular so that you are also able to understand the better. See, in this session, there's a limited time. So some of the students might not be able to, be on the same page as I am discussing it with them. So in that case, you may mention the key points which you feel in your notepad, and after the session is over, you may revisit to that topic and read thoroughly, and in case of any doubt, you may always ask us in the next session. So circular number 11 by 11 by 2017, GSC dated October 2017 is invoked here. So please understand this because a lot of students have given the incorrect answer. In case of printing of books, when only content is supplied by the person who owns the uses, right to the intangible inputs, while the physical inputs, including paper, used by the printer belongs to the printer. Paper used for printing is belongs to the printer. Supply of printing of the content has been supplied by the recipient of supply. So basically, supply of content is the principal supply in this case. So this supply will constitute supply of service. Here in this case, it is not clearly given that you have to determine time of supply of goods or services. You have to decide the nature of the supply, whether it is of goods or services. Then you have to invoke the relevant section in this case. So printing of books where only content is supplied by the recipient, it amounts to supply of service. So when I am telling you that it amounts to supply of service, then as you are already aware that just a minute. In case of supply of service, section 13 is there. Time of supply of services is earlier of two dates, that is date of invoice or date of receipt of payment, to the extent the invoice or payment covers the supply of services, whichever is earlier, if invoice is issued within the time prescribed under section 31. So here invoice is issued on 15th of May, and for payment there are basically two dates. बिकॉज हमें एडवांस रिसीव हुआ है 20th मार्च को एंड रिमेनिंग पेमेंट वी हैव रिसीव्ड ऑन 31st ऑफ मे. So whichever is earlier when we say, and if invoice, if in case of remaining amount, date of provision of service or date of receipt of payment, to the extent payment covers the supply of service, whichever is earlier, if invoice is not issued within the time prescribed under section 31. So in this case, invoice for this service is not issued within 30 days. So time of supply for advance received is date of receipt of payment, यानी कि 20th March, date of receipt of payment 20th March, right? Because it is earlier than the date of provision of service. However, the time of supply for the balance payment is the date of provision of service, because balance payment कब हुई है? Balance payment हुई है 31st May को, and date of provision of service हमारा है date of provision of service is date of completion of printing, that is 10th April. So 10th April is earlier than the 31st of May. So that is the reason the time of supply in this case is option 4, that is 20th March and 10th April. I hope that I am clear, and if anybody has doubt, please go through the circular number 11/11/2017. GST dated 20th October 2017. It says when there, in case of printing of books, it is a predominant supply of services there. So section 13 will be invoked. Now, the last question of the GST Titan quiz is going to be there on your screen, and it will decide the leader of the day. KLM Limited, a publishing and printing house registered in Maharashtra, is engaged in supply of books, letter cards, envelopes, guides, and reference materials. Following information is provided for printing of envelopes. Date of entering into printing contract 20th March, receipt of advance 25th March, completion of printing 5th April, issue of invoice 10th April, removal of books and letterheads to buyer. 7th April, receipt of balance payment 30th April. For printing of envelopes, the design and logo were supplied by the buyer. So determine the type of supply. Take your time. You may go through the circular also, as I have discussed it with you, but please give me the correct answer, then I will think that you have understood the concept clearly. Still 1 minute is left with you. This is the last question of today's GSC Titan quiz, and it will decide who is the leader of the today's GSC Titan quiz. Last 10 seconds are there with you. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and the time is over. So surprise has ended, and the today is on the top of the leaderboard. We have Chitra with us. Good, Chitra, congratulations. In fact, no, undoubtedly Chitra is at the top, but all of the students, everybody who has participated, they are winner in themselves. Because when you participate, you will learn, and if you will learn, obviously your chances of scoring higher in the examination, that increases manifold. Rank 2 is backed by Yogesh, rank 3 Geet Chauhan, and rank 4 is Sanjay. So let us see how many students have given the correct answer to this question. Nobody has given the correct answer. See, this is the reason why I have deliberately decided to pick up those questions where there are some technical points are tested to you, some intricacies are there, some amendment based provisions are there, so that you are able to appreciate. When you appear in the examination, nothing seems to you unfamiliar. You are able to already, acquaintance that these type of questions may come in the examination, and you have thorough practice of these questions as well. So nobody has given the correct answer. That means I myself need to explain this concept to you. See, let us understand together. As I have already told you that circular number 11 by 11 by 2017, you may note down the circular number 11/11 by 2017, GSC dated 20th October 2017 is applicable here. Because it says that in case of supply of printed envelopes by the printer using its physical inputs, including paper, to print the design, logo, etc., logo and design, that is the only thing which is supplied by the recipient. As we can see, for printing of envelopes, design and logo was supplied by the buyer. So what happens is that in this case, it has been clarified by CBIC that predominant supply is supply of goods and supply of printing of the content which has been supplied by the recipient. This is ancillary to the principal supply, and this is the reason that sale will amount to supply of goods. See, supply of printed envelope amounts to supply of goods, whereas as we have seen in the previous question, that's the printing of books. In this case, it amounts to supply of services. So when it amounts to supply of goods, which section invokes here? Please be fast and let me know to the chat box. In case of supply of goods, Geet, section 12(2) and section 31, very good. So I think you are clear with the provisions of time of supply, but somehow you are not able to correlate the things, right? So in case of supply of goods, very good, section 12(2), read with notification number 66 by 17 CTR dated 15th November 2017 is applicable. And it says that in case of time of supply of goods, the registered person, there are two exclusions: composition supplier and registered person making supply of specified actionable claims. They has to pay GST on the outward supply of goods at the time of supply as mentioned in section 12(2)(a). And 12(2)(a) क्या बोलता है? Date of issue of invoice or last date on which invoice or to have been issued. So date of payment is ignored in this case. Yogesh is saying, yes, ma'am, was confused with goods or services. Now, Yogesh, I hope that I am clear. Geet is also saying that you are confused with goods and services. So this is how, in examination questions are framed. Very good that now, good to see that now at least it is clear to you. So as we know that section 12.2 read with section 31 says that in case of goods, removal of goods, date of issue of invoice for supply of goods is basically that at the time of date of removal of goods. So in this case, goods are removed on 7th of April. See, I am highlighting it this. Date of removal of books and letterhead to buyer is 7th April. So time of supply in this case is 7th April, right? So I hope I am clear to you. And before we, decide to end this session, please spare 2 minutes and let me, have your feedback in the feedback form that whether you like this type of quiz or not, and does it contribute in your study or not? Are you able to understand the concepts? Are you able to apply the concepts? Do you feel you would be able to retain them for a longer period of time? Sometimes what happens is that, yes, you people do share your feedback in the chat box, but your feedback which you share in the feedback form, that goes a long way, and it helps us in improving ourselves, in knowing the methodology which you people understand, which really helps you in understanding things better. Geet Chauhan, thank you, ma'am. MCQs were really testing. Thank you for the effort. Thank you, Yogesh. Sanjay, thank you. Quiz is helpful. So I'm happy to see that yes, the efforts which I put in, they are fruitful and it helped you. But please, once again, but still, I would like to request you that please spare a 1 minute and share your feedback in the feedback form. Just take 2 minutes time and share your feedback in the feedback form, and then let me know through the chat that whether you are done or not. After that, I will discuss with you regarding forthcoming classes. We have on the top Chitra, second rank Yogesh, and third rank is Geet Chauhan. Hats off to you. Very good. Let me know through the chat box once you are finished with the filling the feedback form. So I hope that you have done with it. See, in the next session, students, value of supply topic will start. And next session is the coming Friday and the Sunday. So, although I will try, if the time permits me, to take GSC Titan quiz with you, because you're the enthusiasm and your feedback, it helps us, it motivates us as well. So, I will try to take few quiz so that some key concepts get clear to you. So, any of your friends who is not there in the today's class, you may share with them that how you are learning and growing. And so thank you, and see you in the next class with a new topic, value of supply. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, sir, and thank you, everyone. Yes. Thank you.